This is Constant Elevation, the show for rising Air Force and community leaders who seek to define the future. Learn powerful work and life tactics to tackle any challenge. I'm your host, Gabriel Gabrock Avila. Let's go. Welcome back, everybody. Gabrock back on the mic once again. Constant Elevation, still evolving, still doing video stuff, still doing the podcasting stuff. I'm thoroughly enjoying doing my research right now, trying to find out some new ways I can deliver better content out there. So hope you guys are enjoying it, whether it's an audio version or a video version. And I'm stepping my game up, and I'm excited to move forward with that. So this week I'm moving into a week of leave. I am not going to Arizona, because the policy has not been updated, and I'm not going back home. So I know Gene and the kids are having a great time back home in Arizona. They're going to be staying safe and enjoying Grandma's pool, but I will not be heading there. So I am going to take leave because I can take leave. So I'm going to be hanging out and working on my platform, updating the website, updating a couple things. And so you might see some cosmetic changes, really just trying to set a foundation for the eventual release of my book. If you didn't know, that I'm currently in the process of writing a book on Squadron Command, unofficial book, just my own thoughts and what I want to share with you as the Constant Elevation audience, and just kind of trying to share my experiences as a twice graduated squadron commander, as far as what the Air Force really needs out of the next generation of leaders. And so if I can do my part to pay it forward, that's my goal of writing my book. And it was a personal challenge for me to just I want to write a book. It's kind of cool just to say no, I write a book and I can sell it and all those kind of things. And so very, very happy that part of my journey is continuing. So right before I'm going to go on leave next week, I actually had just had my annual feedback with my boss, which is kind of cool. Here at JFH Doden, actually, my boss is an Army colonel. I work for an Army 06 as he's the J3, the directorate of the operations directorate, and then we all work for the 1-star deputy commander. He's our senior raider on the JFH Doden side of the house. We all work for the 3-star, but my chain of command stops at the 1-star, and so it was pretty cool. He was actually very, very particular. We originally had it on one day. It got slid because of another battle rhythm event, and but I appreciated him taking the time it was very important to him. And I think we started off the feedback session trying to ask, how does the Army do it compared to the Air Force? I didn't realize, depending on certain, depending how junior, senior you are, sometimes you actually have to have your feedback sessions, and you need to do it quarterly. Every 90 days, it's written down and it's an expectable item. I was like, oh, okay. And then I didn't realize how much paperwork was needed. He's like, yeah, but no one really actually does it on those days. We just he didn't want to say pencil whipping, but that's essentially what he was saying. Not that we would do anything like that either. So it's a thing of, but we talked a little bit about the differences between two systems, and then so this week's episode I'm going to talk about. It's going to be basically a debrief as far as what my boss and I discussed during my feedback session, and then what I'm looking forward to. And it was a really, really positive session. I'm very happy that my boss took the time. It was an hour, a full hour of conversation, and so very, very proud to share, some of the things and some of my perspective of how the situation went. So the first part of the feedback session was actually my OPR, and so for the Army, it's very particular. You have to have this session right before you sign it. That way, and I have the same appreciation for it. If you are a raider, your raidee should never, ever be surprised as far as what's going to be on the OPR, and you should have a conversation. Should there be some either misinterpretation or something, as far as hopefully by the time the conversations, all the interim feedback sessions have happened, you already know what's going to be on the piece of paper. And so it should not be a surprise. So we went over my OPR. So I'll go a couple of details. I'm going to look at my notes here. So my actual duty title on my OPR this year is going to say Deputy Division Chief. So it was very important that I worked with him with that, because he was because I've been the J34 Division Chief for the last 5 months. And so he's like, why aren't you should just get credit as Division Chief. And I told him, I was like, all right, sir, so I could do that. However, that's going to set a precedent that I don't think we can walk back from. And the reason why is because I'm an 05 filling an 06 billet, right? And we have 3 06s inbound. And so all the Air Force colonels that they retired or moved on to Space Force, their replacements are coming in this summer, right? So by the end of it, we're going to have 3 more 06s on staff. Cool. Looking forward to meeting everybody. And so he was like, yeah, but don't you want the credit as a division chief? I was like, well, I do. And I did that as far as like my first bullet. If you ever read my OPR, it actually says acting division chief for 5 months and then the rest of the bullet. And so I told him, I was like, sir, this is very, very important. I don't want to create a situation where I create a precedent that I can't walk back from. And I can't, it'd be because if I go lower, if I end up becoming a branch chief or something else, not as high as division chief, when you look at my record, it's going to see as a dip down in responsibility. And we can't, that's frowned upon in the Air Force. And so he was like, oh, okay. And he's very understanding. And actually he wants to, for the future ones, he wants to retain himself as my raider and the decom as a senior raider. So I like that. It's a consistency in messaging. And part of it is just making sure that, assuming I don't fuck it up, like, and I earn it, that he is going to help get me to the next level. So I was very, very appreciative of that. So deputy division chief, pretty cool for an 05. I'm not mad about that at all. Going to he was like, he also shared, he's like, Air Force is probably the least favorite service I like of the writing because I don't understand what are the most important parts. And so I told him, I was like, sir, the most important parts are the 2 push lines. That's it. The rest of the OPRs are just, it's fluff that's basically going to be building into what the push line means. And the push line has a very distinct things as far as what you're trying to tell either the promotion boards or senior leadership within your community in the Air Force as far as what is the actual either promotability or capability of this person to serve at the next level. That's what we're trying to do. And it's supposed to tell a story. So my push line I got from him at his level. So again, I'm a division chief, J34, and then he's a director of J3, so the J3. Number X of 7 joint 05s. Positively aggressive leader that forges joint teams and delivers multi-domain results. Group command after SDE. Pretty dope, right? So, okay, so I'll say as a disclaimer, I'm not going to exactly say the stratifications in this podcast episode. If you want to know about them, I can share it with you, but this is not the point in time for me to just tell you what those stratifications are. But if you're interested to see what the actual number that I got, I will tell you, but I'm not going to put it in the episode. So here's some key parts as far as that push line. So I drafted it for him because that's what we're going to do. And I wrote positively aggressive leader. It was interesting because he actually said that when I transitioned off the JDoc floor to take over J34, he said he appreciated my positive leadership, my positively aggressive leadership, because there's a lot of times where we're just going around the same, problem set or whatever it is. And then because I'm me, I'll be like, hey, let's go do this. Or I'm not afraid to kind of say what's on everybody else's mind. And then once I put the words out in ether, then people are like, yeah, what Gabe said. That sounds really good. So he likes the idea that someone on the team is willing to just say what needs to be said. It's not going to be necessarily the cleanest or the easiest thing to do. And it may not even be the end result of what we do, but he appreciates me moving forward and trying to deliver solutions to problems. And so, and he also recognizes that I have a lot of humor. Well, in my head, at least, I think I'm funny. But there is a lot of humor I try and inject to everything because our day-to-day grind is going to exist. And this has existed since I've been in the Air Force. So why can't we just smile and have a good time? Doing some cut-ups with each other, that just forms that camaraderie. That's very, very important. And so I tend to be, you can call me like the Joker or whatever it is, but like I tend to carry humor every single time, every assignment that I have, because I just like to have a good time. And so I put that in there. I wasn't sure if he's going to keep it, but he kept it. So it's in my OPR. It's going to be an official record. So positively aggressive leader. Driving multi-domain results. Obviously, it's very, now under General Brown, I should have wrote it as joint all domain results, but that's beside the point. It's still on track. And so the important part at the end of that sentence, group command after SDE. So my last 3 OPRs have actually said it's pushing me for a group command. So that infers if you're going to be a group commander, you have to be an 06. So it's an already inferred comment that Gabe is going to be ready for 06 level responsibility. So I've earned that over my last year of working here at JFHU Doden, and my Army chain of command, because I work for an Army colonel and an Army 1-star. They believe that. They believe in me, I should say. So speaking of the Army 1-star, so moving down to the push line from my senior raider, he's the deputy commander for the headquarters. Number X of 12 joint 05s. Visionary leader shaping adversary engagement operations to protect global DoD mission sets. SDE, then group command. So again, I'm being stratted. If you notice, we had to follow like the new OPR writing guidance. you're only allowed to be stratified against specific groups. You can't just say number X of Y shorter than 6 feet Asian officers. Like, you can't do that anymore. Not that anybody did that, but you can't do that anymore. So Joint O5s or Air Force O5s, those would be the two peer groups that I'm allowed to be stratified against. And so I've been stratified amongst all of the Joint O5s. So we have several Army. We're having a Coast Guard guy join pretty soon, but whatever. All the rest of the services are there. So I'm a number certain of number 12. And so that's really good coming, and it's directly from my 1-star. So all of those are going to be really, really strong push lines as far as getting me competitive for my next board next year, because I didn't get to compete this year. Bunch of shit, but that's beside the point. Next year, when I get to compete in the zone, that I hopefully, if I don't fuck it up this year, I'll have a strong OPRs telling that story as far as what if I am ready to be to take on the next level of leadership as an 06. So again, consistency in messaging, right? Pushing me for group command, which infers 06, and then pushing me for senior development education, going to school. And so that's always going to be, if I get picked up for school this winter, that's going to be it's pretty much like a given that I should make 06 coming out of school at some point in time. So both push lines indicate that I'm actually going to be ready for the next level. And I liked it. So he said that, the draft OPR that I wrote was spot on, and he's very, very proud about that. And we'd spend about maybe 20 minutes on that part of the conversation. And then the rest of it turned into a general feedback session. And I assume he's done this. I mean, he's a colonel, so he's done this conversation a lot. And so we were actually doing it telework, because I was telework and he was at work. And so I wasn't sure what paperwork he had in front of him, or notes or whatever it is, but it seemed like he hit up, very similar to like the ACA. He hit up the key points as far as like, here's the stuff we should be talking about during a feedback session. And I really appreciated him taking the time, just kind of walk through those things. Even though everything I'm going to talk about next was good, he went through them all. So I did appreciate that. He asked me, what's my plans for the next, what he actually told me what his plan for me is for the next year. And so he does anticipate keeping me on board as a J34 as long as possible. And then when probably like the fall winter time, as far as when all the colonels get settled, we have to take another look as far as where are all the team positions and where does somebody need a little bit of help. And if I need to move out of J34, that's fine. Or if I stay on as a deputy division chief, that's also fine. He'll still be my raider, so that's good. And then, but we talked about him, he was like, I believe in your vision of the ops assessment cell, because we tend to, at work, we tend to get caught up in just in the fires and the fires and the fires. We don't actually take any analysis and step back and try and improve what we do. We try, but it's never a consistent effort. And so he talked about creating like a division just for me to be the division chief and lead that and be a direct report underneath him, which would be pretty cool. And so we'll see if that opportunity presents itself. But we talked about, he just wanted me to, he didn't say it out loud, and maybe I'm putting words in his mouth. But I think he really enjoys me being the J34, and then doesn't want to lose the stuff that I bring to the team, and wants to find the right position for me. So I was very, very appreciative of that. But again, I think the biggest, what we talked about is, and I think this is important for anybody's feedback sessions, you got to find what are those critical points where that's going to be changing the game for everybody, right? And so for me and my family, the critical decision is coming up is whether or not I get picked up for school. So I'll find out this holiday season if I get picked up I put in for certain programs, but the Air Force doesn't care. They'll pick the right program that they think is for me. And then if I get picked up, that means we're moving the summer 21. So my 2-year tour here, or my 3-year projected joint tour, will only be 2 years. And so if I get picked up for school, he kind of needs a plan that like, here, Gabe's going to be leaving by summer of 21, and then we'll figure out how to move that. But if I don't get picked up and I'm here for the entire 3 years, that means he gets another year of employment out of me. So we have to figure out how to work those things. And so it was really important we determined that like me getting picked up for school, that decision anyway, is going to be very important. And then that will determine the rest of the plan for me. And so I'm very happy that he just gives a shit, right? He could have just kind of set it off and found it to another Air Force member to figure it out for me, but he's taking the time, and I shared with him. I appreciated him really caring about the military talent management you have in the division, or in the directorate, I should say. And so it's very important to him, and therefore it's important to me. And we're trying to do our best to. I'm doing my best to mentor the airmen that's going on in the directorate, and being a good teammate across the board. So other stuff. So basically, that's what we talked about. Keep me on board, but we'll figure out once I get picked up for school or not. Then we talked about, this is where I felt like he was going through the form, which I'm not mad about because the form helps you kind of have a feedback conversation. He asked me about my fitness goals, and then he's like, yeah, you're still coaching, right? I was like, yeah, I coach. And he's like, how are you doing that? This is in the pandemic. I'm like, oh, we over at now Revival CrossFit, Revival Fitness, not Revival CrossFit. We're Revival Fitness. I said, yeah, so I've been doing some in place. We do very safe, social distancing classes. Only within like the last month we did it. But I told him, I was like, I've done some Zoom classes, sort of embarrassing. I may or may not have had a headband and a headset on, but like an aerobics class, but that's beside the point. He laughed at that. And so he's like, no, I figured you're still, you look like fitness is kind of like a thing for you. I was like, yeah, it's a thing that you don't have to worry about that, sir. That is definitely something you don't have to worry about me. So a few minute conversation. Then we talked about self-improvement. So he asked me, he was like, yeah, so are there any like IT certifications that you're looking for? I was like, no. I distinctly said, no, I'm not into that kind of, sir. Just not my bag. I said, if I was going to go to certification, it might have been PMP. What is it? Professional management? Project management professional. I think that's what it stands for. The homies, Drew and Stella Garcia, they got it while they were in Hawaii, whatever. Anyways, but all of my PME boxes are checked. I've already done Air War College by correspondence like a long time ago. And so I told him, I was like, no, my passion is I'm writing a book of Squadron Command. He's like, oh, I didn't know you realize you're doing that. But yeah, I'm just in the throes of that. And I'm doing definitely people are aware of that I have this show. And so if they listen, whatever it is, he knows that I use this sort of as a platform to do my mentoring, to do my sharing of stories, sharing of thoughts. And that's where I get my self-improvement from. And he likes that. And so then we moved into family, right? He asked me like, how's the family doing? And I was like, well, they're doing great in Arizona. He's like, oh yeah, I forgot. You're not there, but you're here with us. I was like, yes, sir. Definitely still kind of just got to shove that in there, sir, but that's fine. But we laughed about it. And I told him, I was like, sir, I'm fairly sure the policy is not going to get updated and I'm going to have to stay here. And it is what it is. I told him, this is one of those kind of things that my exposure at a joint headquarters kind of level is, I get to see 1 and 3 star level decision making. And some of those things are not as, when you're a squadron commander, you have definitely, your fishbowl is relatively small. As you can make decisions and influence it and change it. At a 1 or 3 star level, like as much as I say, like just send a public policy out, there's a much more, distinct decision cycle that needs to go with those kind of decisions. And so I'm not mad about it, but I'm just frustrated because I just want to go, but it's okay. So he understood my my frustration. He did say like, hey, so hopefully it does get updated, and then next week when you're on leave, just tell me when you're going to go to Arizona, we'll figure it out. And so again, I thanked him that he understood where I wanted to go with my family. We talked a little bit about we got 2 teenagers, and so we're trying to weigh out exactly, again, the school decision is going to be important because we have to figure out where we're going to go. If I'm going to move Gina the kids to Arizona, if we're going to stay, if there's some distant learning kind of things for me as a student or whatever it is, like how do we work out those options? And so, but we will figure out as a family once that decision is made. And then I was very, very happy that he was interested to hear and to be supportive in that role. And so, and then finally, at the end of the takeaway, he asked me, he's like, so what do you want to do? And I told him, I was like, well, I want to continue to serve in the leadership as a div chief as long as I can. And I told him, I was like, sir, you have a lot of good people in this division, and my job is to really just kind of package it. They're the techno experts, but they get so caught up in the technical things that they have a hard time convincing very cleanly and distinctly to leadership as far as what the ideas are, what are the end goals, how does it integrate into a nice campaign plan. That's the kind of stuff that I bring to the team. So I said, I'm going to continue to help be that translator, move the things into actionable plans, and just, and make sure that leadership, and I'm very big about being transparent, talking it over with the other divisions. I'm like, no, we work with everybody, 3-3, 3-5, 5, whatever it is. The stuff we do is not in a stovepipe. We're definitely within the 3-4 an integrator across both future and current operations. And so I work hard to make sure that we don't leave anybody behind. And so I gave him my commitment. I was like, when I give the stuff that we're trying to do, always has to be integrated with everybody else. It's a team sport, bottom line. And so one of the other things I told him, I was like, I'm very appreciative of him and my 1-star that they listen. This is the best thing ever. I think I've seen leaders where it's like, no, I just need you to do this and stop talking to me and just go forward and do what I'm doing. Certain points in time, that definitely actually, in the military especially, that makes sense, right? If you're in a combat fire situation or whatever it is, there's times where you can't talk anymore. You just need to go and execute. Our business right now in the cyber operations domain, we have time to think, right? And so we should be using that time appropriately, right? And my job is, okay, so that means I only have 3.4 minutes to tell you exactly what is the most important thing right now, or convince you otherwise, or what is the timing and tempo? How do I get into the battle rhythm to be like, hey, sir, this is where I'm going to hit you up in staff meeting, or I need a desk side. I need a focused 30-minute conversation to go over this stuff because it's that deep, and I want you to really, really listen to me, and our team, what we're trying to propose to you. And so I thanked him because he's really good about listening to us. And it's maybe I'm appreciative of that because I don't want to say we talk a lot for the sake of talking. We work really, really hard on presenting some ideas and presenting some alternative solutions that are critical to a conversation. And you have to listen, and you have to be able to. Here's the thing. Smart leaders have to be able to listen and then have an engaged conversation. Because if you're not ready, that means I think it could easily be like, you know what, Gabe, I don't have time to listen to you. I just need you to do what I said to do. Like, okay, so you got to remember who you're talking to now, to be honest. Like, if I was a lieutenant of Villa, that'd be one thing because I clearly don't have enough experience or time under my belt in order to give some informed feedback. However, I have been around the block. My team has been around block floor. So if I'm actually taking the time to come up with a presentation, come up with an after-action report or some sort of artifact that, sir, I need you to read this. And I can format it. Here's the bluff, executive summary, recommendations. I can draw your eye exactly to clearly what I need you to do. And then we need to have a conversation. And at the end, I will always salute smartly and carry out the orders of the day. But like, I really need you to consider everything. And he does a great job of that. And I said, that's more of the leadership that we need. We need to listen to each other. And I think we're moving forward in that direction. I think we have some work to do. But overall, I ended my feedback session just saying, I thanked him for his leadership. I thanked him for giving me the opportunity because he didn't have to do this. In my head, I want to say I willed myself into this position for an 06 division chief, but it wasn't willing. I just had to put in the hard work, and then they just kind of trusted me after a while. And I was very thankful at the end of the feedback session that he wants to keep me in there. I wasn't sure how the feedback session was going to go. He could have been like, Gabe, you're a distraction. None of your jokes are funny. I don't understand what you're talking about. But it didn't, thank God. It went into the positive session. So overall, though, this was a good feedback session, like most of the feedback sessions that I have. Looking forward to putting in another year of work and seeing where I can lead the team and be a positive contributor. But yeah, so I hope that for all the leaders out there, take these notes to be like, this is how a feedback should feel like, right? For both the rater and the ratee. You should use this time. It was in 1 hour of good conversations. You should be taking up the professional stuff, the personal stuff, having some side conversation about just general life and like, where do you want to go? I want to move you here. And you kind of work on these mutual goals with each other. That's a really good feedback session. So, and this is, I had it with an Army 06. Bam. So awesome. It's so awesome in a joint environment that like we can still get that level of professionalism that we need. And he sees me, he mentioned to me, he believes I'm operating at the 06 level and wants to get me into that right direction and be a brigade commander equivalent in the Army. And so that just gets me motivated to get more work in, right? I told him I'm going to enjoy my leave, recharge my batteries, work on my podcast stuff, work on my book stuff. And then when I come back to work, I'm ready to go. So can't stop, won't stop. Colonel Villa. So team, that's just want to give you some insight as far as some of the feedback sessions. If you have any questions as far as how you can either deliver or receive or set up a really good feedback session, hit me up. I'm more than happy to tell you. I've given feedback sessions, informal ones a lot, and then I've had the formal ones, and I can walk you through those things. But just let me know, and I'm more than happy to share you my ideas and how you can make it not just something you need to get through. It's something you should look forward to, both as a rater and a ratee, because I think that's a time where you can kind of really get some buy-in and get that leadership kind of like foot stomp exactly what you need to be doing together as a team. And so that's all what it's all about. All right, cool. All right, so appreciate this video thing. Hands. Still don't know what to do with my hands. I just bought a new camera too, so I'm going to figure out how to make this even look better, more handsome, if that's possible. It is. Cool. Have a good week, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace.